Hey, I'm still outside, recording my batch of videos. Hopefully the glare of the sun, the lawnmowers in the background, or my microphone setup isn't horrendous when I go to fucking throw this in the editor a little. Today I want to talk about game collecting again, some of the negativity of it, and game collecting should be positive. And I think a lot of game collectors out there will relate to me when I say our mindset on game collecting when we first started versus now, totally different. Unless you're new to it, then you might be in the mindset a lot of us game collectors were in the beginning of it. See, game collecting, there's a way to do game collecting. As weird as it sounds, there's a way to do game collecting where it's not fun. And I was definitely in that boat at one point. I think when you first get into game collecting, it's exciting. You see these people on YouTube, like Metal Jesus Rocks and stuff, where it's just these massive collections, and you're just in awe of the collection, you know, basking in its gloriness. But the thing about the collection is, what you see as being desirable as like a giant collection, it might not be as desirable once you have it. In fact, you might reach a point where you look at the shelves and shelves around you and say, man, I haven't even played half of this, and I don't want to play half of this. But it's here, I spent money on it, and I think there's a certain addictive tendency to collecting that is under talked about, but definitely there. And I experienced that at one point. I had a very addictive tendency where I was just buying everything I could find. And I think a lot of us have been in that boat before. But the thing is, game collecting is a hobby, and it should be fun. And I want to tackle a few issues today that I think plague the community of certain members, especially the new people in this wonderful hobby. And again, the hobby is great overall, but you know, in order to keep the hobby healthy and going, we gotta flesh out, or at least discuss, the negative elements of it. You gotta think about what is the purpose of buying video games, and that's to play them at the end of the day, unless there's a certain subset to, you know, preserving cool stuff, and that's a whole different group who I greatly respect, of course. But you gotta think about, at the end of the day, video games are entertainment pieces. They're meant to be fun. So it's cool, and I get the coolness of having, you know, a bunch of cartridges, but if you're never playing them, then you gotta think, what's the point? Because again, I think we all chase that dream of having a giant, this collection of coolness, and there is a coolness to giant collecting. A collection I respect as much as the next guy, but honestly these days I've been getting more and more comfortable selling off games, because you gotta think, right? You're not gonna like every video game genre. I don't like every game genre, but yet I have games and genres I don't care about. Imagine this, right? You could sell off the games you don't care about and use that money to buy games you do care about. Because you can still have a big collection. There's still plenty of games that you want, but not every game you want. So sell off the ones you don't want for the games that you do want. Because, like I said before, it's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. And I think, too, a part of this is a certain pressure, maybe. And I don't know if it's coming from the Facebook groups or the YouTubers or what. And when I say YouTubers, I don't think it's intentional at all. I think people like Metal Jesus and stuff, Last Gamer and stuff, they just want to show off their collections because they love the hobby. But don't be jealous of people's massive collection. Collect what you want. Remember that a lot of these collectors have been doing it for 20 years. They've been doing it since the 90s. They were doing it back when you could get these games for cheap. When you could get these expensive Nintendo games for cheap. You could, places were blowing them out for $5 a pop. You gotta remember, there was a time where Earthbound, boxed in the copy and everything, was $20, and there was a stack of them in the clearance bin. I know, I wish I could go back to that time and buy them all up too in my time machine. But that time's never coming, and a lot of these people have been collecting for decades, since the 90s. So, don't compare yourself to these people who have massive collections. Like, some people feel bad about themselves for not having a big collection, and I was in that boat too when I was new to collecting. Is I would see like I would see these collections on YouTube, and I'd think, look at my pitiful collection. And then sometimes I'd go on eBay and I'd buy a game just to be like, added one to the collection. And I know too, I felt bad like in times where money was more scarce for me and I had bills to pay. my collection stopped growing. There was months that went by where I wasn't buying any video games because I was doing what I needed to. I was paying bills. That's what I had to do. But I felt bad, and a lot of it was done by YouTubers and their big collections. Again, not intentional on their part at all. And I'm in a position where I could play the same factor for someone else perhaps. And I recognize that. That just comes with the territory of having a game collecting or a game collection that you show on YouTube. But the thing is, money does equal happiness a lot. I mean, it's diminishing return when you hit richy, levels of cash and you got millions in the bank. But money is paying bills and having security in a home and having family doing well and food on the table. That's important. And that should come before video games. Because I'm not here to be a parent, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this are far older than me. I'm a young man, but the thing is, don't spend money on video games, especially a lot of them that you're never going to play, when that money needs to go to bills or something. The environment that you build up around you is going to help you. Rising tide rises all boats. If you keep your environment around you and your home life and the people around you happy, that's going to create a more happy time for you in the now. So with game collecting, there's a pressure. And you feel bad about not buying more video games, but you can't. You gotta buy the games that you want. Pick a game that you're gonna play for a while. Spend the $20 on that game and have fun. Focus on that one game. Put the time into that game. You'll get more out of that video game. Now, I'm gonna move on to the other aspect of game collecting, and I apologize. It's kind of rambly. It's just off the cuff. Space issues. Oh boy, this is an issue that plagues a lot of us, and it's plagued me before. With game collecting, it's not only the games that take up room, you accumulate a lot of random wires and adapters and stuff that has no place to go, that you just accumulate this stuff that you can't get rid of. And if you're in a position where your house is overflowing with games, honestly, that's going to raise your stress level. It's been proven. You need an organized space. It'll help you, again. If your house is just full of video games and toys and stuff everywhere, and there's barely any room to put anything or walk around, that's going to negatively affect you more than you think. And again, I'm not trying to sound like a therapist or your parent here. It's just, I've witnessed this in the game collecting community before. I see even certain YouTubers who the whole house seems to be full of stuff, and man, it just seems so stressful. And I'm guilty of this. I have a bunch of paper plates and trash in my room. I let it build up for a week or two before I take care of it. So I'm guilty of this too. I live in a cluttered environment, and I can tell you, it definitely breeds a certain weird negativity. It's a downer. The stuff around you almost sucks the energy out of you, metaphorically. You gotta keep a clean environment. I guess at the end of the day, this video, buy what you're interested in. Don't treat game collecting like hooting. I think that's gonna be the main takeaway from this video. It's a hobby, which means it doesn't come before responsibility, but also it's a hobby, it's collecting, it's not hooting. It's very difficult to fall down, or it's very easy to fall down the hooting track. I fell down it before, a lot of us have. Don't be jealous of other people in the hobby. Again, remember, for every metal Jesus, there's a John Hancock with even more stuff. For every John Hancock, there's a Last Gamer. For every Last Gamer, remember, not all game collectors are on YouTube, not all game collectors are public. You hear whispers and rumors in the hobby about collectors who have insane amounts, who might hold the record, and we don't even know who they are, because they keep it private. It's always a bigger fish. Find the console, the genre you like, find the series you like. Spend a little bit of money at a time, one game at a time, unless, if you're out of Goodwill and you find a bunch of games and games that you're interested in for $3 each, grab them, of course. Have fun. Thrifting is fun. Those finds are fun. But don't break the bank. Set a budget, $50 a week or whatever, and have fun. Play the games. Get involved in the community, but don't, get jealous of people's collections on the internet. And don't buy up a bunch of stuff. Don't clutter your space. Don't clutter your mind. Just keep it positive, And also remember, it's never a bad idea to sell stuff off if needed. It's never a bad idea to take a step back from collecting. Keep it positive. Keep it focused on the hobby of having fun. That's what a hobby's for. It should be a side part of your life. It should be something that you open up the package, you play the game. It's a fun part of your week before you get back to responsibility. It needs to be a hobby. It can't be holding, and it can't be something that just has a negative impact on your life, like a parasite almost.